I'm Kathryn. I'm a writer and editor. I'm also one of the contributors of Kids Just Want to Fly, which is why we're all here. Thanks for coming to celebrate this book of Ben's creation. I think most of you probably know who Ben is, but I'm going to introduce you anyway.
Okay, go for it.
So Ben is a photographer, filmmaker, publisher, among other many things, and also the founder of York Creatives. And now the creator of Kids Just Want to Fly. And I say creator rather than author because I feel like there's a lot more than authorship in this, and that's what we're going to hear a little bit about now. But can you give us a bit of an introduction, Ben, to Kids Just Want to Fly and sort of what this project is?
Sure. So some of you might know that last year I put out this book, Wanderings and Wonderings, and this, sorry, the print's falling out. This was an exploration of the relationship between humans and nature, and the photos in this project were taken between 2013 and 2023, so it was kind of looking back. And this idea of looking back on kind of past memories seems to be coming up quite a lot for me. And Kids Just Want to Fly is basically the prequel to this one. So the dates are quite significant. So 2013 to 2023, anybody who knows how old I am, that's basically from me being 20 to 30. And so this was kind of like a documentary of the types of things I was exploring in my 20s. So it was kind of like adventure, going to see new places, and then trying to reflect on like my identity and my place in the world. So there's various reflections and provocations in that book, bits of philosophy and poetry and things like that. This book is the 10 years before that, so 2003 to 2013. So when I took the first image in this book, I was actually 10. And I didn't even think of myself as a photographer till I was like in my mid-20s. It was only kind of looking back like, oh yeah, I kind of always did have a camera in my hand. But if you think about kind of the types of pictures most people took in 2003, it was very interesting. It was like mostly documenting family holidays, things like that. There wasn't yet this idea of kind of photography as performance, not for the average person anyway. It was only when social media came in much later. However, I think I was maybe like a couple of years ahead of that because I'd sort of spent my like, how old are you in year 5 and 6? Like kind of 9 and 10, watching like Jackass and Viva La Bam and CKY and those types of things. And so then spent my early teen years throwing myself off buildings and like skateboarding and rollerblading and all that type of thing. And so this idea of like photography as performance, videography as performance, it kind of got in my head early. And so I think I just started collecting all these different things. And so made a bunch of stuff, made some skate videos, took some photos, shoved them on a hard drive, forgot about them. And then 20 odd years later, looking back through hard drives, kind of found these various different folders worth of stuff. And 90% of it was utter crap, don't want to do anything with it. But some of them, you know, you would look at them and go, actually, that's quite interesting. So I'd grab that out, throw it in a folder, various different folders. The nature folder created this book, and there was another folder which was just kind of titled like rebelliousness. And that's kind of the precursor to what this book is.
I'm sad you didn't call it rebelliousness.
Well, so the original title was Once We Were Beautiful, okay. But then a few people said that's really sad. It's like we're no longer going to be beautiful, so it's no longer called that.
I mean, I love the title. How did you come up with the title?
Ooh, so it was just from the images, really.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. Like I don't really know how other people put photography books together. For me, I just kind of look through the images and I kind of think, what are these images trying to tell me? Like, if I sequence them together, what story is it saying? And you can keep rearranging them in different ways to tell completely different stories until you get one and you go, oh, that's it, that ties everything together. And so to me, this idea of like throwing yourself off something, trying to fly, trying to jump, very much sums up what my teenage experience was. And I think it's the same for a lot of people, because you've got all these ideas of like who you want to be, who you want to become. And you just want to get on with doing that, but then there's so many other people around you putting all these rules in place saying you can't do this because of that, you can't do this because of that. There's so many rules when you're a teenager. All you want to do is break through those and fly, metaphorically. And so, yeah, for me, I found ways to do that by jumping off waterfalls and skateboarding and so on. But I think whether you do that or not, I think the imagery kind of resonates with a lot of people of, yeah, being 10, wanting to be older, and then do you actually get there? Do you become the person you wanted to be, or do you become something that society wanted you to be?
And so, I mean, you say like as well, rearranging the photos and sort of looking at what story they're telling and changing the story. What's that like when they're your photos and it's your sort of photos of your life and your actual memories? Because surely that influences what story you're seeing. Yep. But then you have to think about what story a reader who doesn't know you is seeing.
Yes. So it's very hard to do on the computer. So I always print them all out. So print them all out, get them all on the floor, and then kind of pick them up and move them around and so on. For me, I think coming back to this idea of memory, I like images that make me think about not just that one memory in particular, but like link it with several other memories. And so I think particularly like the way that I edit the photos as well. These are not like pristine, lovely, digital. Well, they're not photos you would print big. So like, A4 is pretty much the biggest that I could get them. They're not super high quality images, but to me they're images that have character and they have soul, and they feel almost like memories. I think that was the thing about like that early camera technology, because it wasn't very good. Some of these are taken on like very early iPhones or cheap point and shoots. I mean, there's one at the back. It was my mum's Lumix, which nobody wanted. It's the very tiny little one. Yes. So those cameras were good at the time, and then nobody wanted them for ages, and now they're quite expensive again, which is quite funny. I don't know if I'm answering the question. What was the question?
No, it was about how, but like how because it's personal photos rather than and sort of the story that it's telling for you is different to the story that it's telling for someone else, I suppose. Yes, I think that's just the way you have to think about sequencing, because obviously like a particular image will have probably more resonance for me than other people. But when you put the ball in a sequence, it's like you zoom out and have to step back from that. Yeah. So as well as the images, there's also written works, both poetry and prose, from 8 different contributing authors. Why did you decide to add these to the project, for that it wasn't just going to be a photo book? Sure. So I'm a big believer in collaboration, for one. You get to do amazing things like that Jarman just did, so I couldn't do that. But I also like the idea of leaving some stuff up to chance. So I could have written 8 pieces to kind of anchor the different chapters and so on. But in some ways, I would have just been retelling what I was already saying with the images. I feel like I've really carefully curated the images to tell the story I wanted to tell. And if I did the writing as well, I feel like it would just be summing up my 10 to 20 experience, whereas I wanted to talk about that kind of young adulthood experience in general. And so I thought bringing in other voices would expand it a lot more. And yeah, I had no idea what I'd get back. I intentionally left the brief quite open. You did? Yes. Can't confirm. And I got back so many different responses, which was wonderful. And for me, like, I guess, selfishly, like, the 8 authors that I worked with are all people that I really look up to. I really like your writing and the other 6 people. And I just wanted to know what you felt about that period. And to me, that was way more exciting than it just being a photography book or photography in my words. Did you find that once you added the pieces of writing, it changed the story? Ooh, I did move the images around a bit, so yes. I think I gave enough of a steer, and I gave you all the images in advance, so I think that helped. And none of you came back with something that just didn't fit. Sorry, no, one person did, but they didn't make the cut. So the 8 of you that are in it came back with something which fit perfectly, and it was perfect in a way that it wasn't what I would have written. So I was kind of happy for it to... You don't want to just tell one story. You want there to be multiple stories. And so I think it served that purpose very well. Did you have any trouble deciding which pieces were going to go where? No trouble. I think it just took some time. I had to sit with it for a couple of weeks and keep moving them and think, how does that feel? And I had to do the thing where I had to basically try and think about the sequence of images and how that sat next to the text rather than just the last image in particular, because there was some parts that were written really well which fit with a specific image in the book, but then it didn't fit with the sequence as a whole. And so again, like stepping back from it was a really important part of the process. And did you find, I mean, you say all the pieces that you had were very different. I know when I was reading them, there were still, like, interestingly, these sort of themes that were coming up, of sort of, one in particular was memory, and maybe sort of nostalgia and also unreliability that seemed to come up. What did you notice? What themes sort of came out? Ooh, okay. Sorry, I didn't prep you for that question. No, that's okay. Yeah, so I think
there's a lot of that idea of, I guess, battling that initial version of yourself, and then it's almost like there's two narratives in the actual story. There's the person that the person thinks they are at the age, and then there's a person writing it later, thinking about who they were at the time. And I think that came through all of them, which is quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, there's the ongoing piece about what society thinks of you and what you think of yourself. Not everybody wrote about it so specifically, but I think that was definitely there in all of it.
Yeah. And then what was it, I mean, we've touched on it a little bit already, but what was it like to work with 8 different writers? I mean, you're sort of, I mean, not, you've worked with writers before, but as quite a visual person, what was it like to work kind of, I guess, as an editor with 8 different writers on 8 different pieces of written work? What was that process like?
What was the process like? Some writers are very good at giving you stuff back and responsive. Some writers aren't very responsive. So I had to chase quite a lot of people. I think on the whole, what I got back was like what I was looking for. And so the edits that I made were quite minor. I also don't really know what to compare it to because I've not done tons of this before. That was kind of one of the reasons why I was excited about it. So I'm not really sure how to answer the question, to be honest. No,
it's okay. I also didn't warn you I was going to ask you that. I'm interested, as an editor, I'm interested in how you found it as like sort of your first experience of putting together essentially an anthology, which is no easy task. Okay.
I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know it should be difficult. I just did it. I just wanted to fly. Well,
yeah, it's really impressive, and also, you know, as it was a real pleasure to be part of it, and I think that this approach to collaboration and this sort of creative openness that you have with your projects is just lovely, and it results in really cool things, and I thoroughly recommend you all to have a little look and to give it, I want to say to give it a read, but it's sort of a look and read, and it's an experience.
Thank you.
I have one tiny last question for you, which is, will you do more projects like this?
Like this, specifically being with other writers?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I've not been put off.
Yeah.
So I think, I think maybe not the next one, maybe the one after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like photographs and something else. I mean, there are purists who say a photography book should just be photography. But I like collaboration too much.
Yeah. Great. Well, look forward to the next but one.
Yes.
Well, and the next one. We don't have to wait for the next collaboration. But yeah, thank you, Ben. This is, it's been a real pleasure to be part of it. I'm sure the other writers who've been involved would say the same thing. And yeah, I just really urge you all to have a read and look.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for agreeing to interview me. That's really appreciated.